Here we are for the main event of the week for the 70s versus the 90s. And this week it is John Boorman's Deliverance versus Curtis Hanson's The River Wild. And let me tell you, it certainly was wild. This one was a hard one to get through, but, educational and shit, because this might piss some people off. Because Deliverance is a movie that's like regarded as a classic, but I've never fucking understood why. One thing that does stand out and one thing that like it can't be fucked with is the cinematography by Vilmos Zsigmond is fucking stunning as shit, as is anything that man does, especially if you need him to film outdoor sequences in like fucking even fog and shit like that. But but also though John Boorman is a very trash director, and I have searched long and hard to find like a movie that I can consider good that's directed by John Boorman. And I may have found three, and I'm being generous with that fucking thing, with that figure. But the cast is decent at best. You got John Voight, who's coming off of the success of Midnight Cowboys, so now he's like an in-demand star, and then Burt Reynolds, on the come up is the big action, one of the big action stars of the 70s. And then you got Ned Beatty and Ronnie Cox. But when you look at this fucking dynamic, it's like, one, why in the fuck were fucking Bobby and Drew, played by Ned Beatty and Ronnie Cox, respectively, there in the fucking first place? Because you can clearly tell that like Lewis and Ed, fucking Burt Reynolds and John Voight are adventure bros. This is the kind of shit they live for. Definitely Lewis more than Ed, but you get the sense, because Burt Reynolds in the movie like wears that fucking scuba thing. He's all like the kind of guy that likes to be, the motherfucker that seems like they know what the fuck they're doing, but he doesn't know shit. And that's honestly what gets them all fucked up. And honestly, if it had just been Lewis and Ed, they probably would have never gotten into the situation that they would have. But you immediately you don't know much about these guys other than, they're fucking annoying as shit. They're city guys, clearly, that, that they look down on the fucking poverty of the fucking country folk and shit, all these hillbillies and river trash, and they kind of makes them feel good about them. It's like almost like they're in a third world country, but they're still in their own fucking country. That's I guess that's the point Boorman's trying to make. He's more concerned with shit like that than he is the actual like fucking thriller part of the fucking movie, because the first half is really fucking engaging. Like you get into it because these characters are, you seem like they're having a fun time. You got the fucking dueling banjos and all this shit. Everything kind of feels authentic, and also like country ass people just like seeing like fucking dumbass city folk get fucked up, so that's why this movie's probably beloved too, even then it could have been a better fucking thriller, because the most shocking thing in the movie is, Bill McKinney, who you probably thought was a real like hillbilly guy. That guy's just a really great actor, because of this, much like Scorpio in fucking Dirty Harry, they kind of got typecast in those roles. Honestly, Bill McKinney found more work than Andy Robinson did, but he was usually playing an asshole villain type, But the fact when he sodomizes Ned Beatty's character, that shit's shocking, but it's more shocking for the fact that like, this dude is looking at this guy not as a human being but as a fucking pig, and it's like probably like bringing him back. He probably like reminds him of this prize hog that he had that he used to fuck all the time, and that's how he's got to get off the fucking squeals and shit. This is real fucked up shit, and that's the most shocking thing about it. But even then, after fucking Burt Reynolds like puts a fucking arrow through that guy and the other guy gets away, and then now there's all this suspicion of like, oh, Drew got shot, they had the big fucking crash, and now Burt Reynolds' legs broke. So the one person that could probably do shit in the movie is fucking done for, Also, even before that, there's the whole thing, oh, we're gonna bury the guy, nobody wants to know. Of course, like Ned Beatty's not gonna want to fucking talk about that shit ever again. He might even kill himself over that shit. And fucking John Voight's, I'm with Lewis, fucking Burt Reynolds' character. Ronnie Cox is the only one that he represents humanity, and that's why he fucking dies. The one guy that would have ratted on him, Lewis has to pay with his fucking leg, and then fucking Ed has to pay with his humanity. This is real heavy-handed garbage, you know. We can all read into the fucking shit, you know. And it's like watching that dude struggle up the hill is like a or struggle up that cliff is a metaphor for me trying to get through this fucking movie. It was so long and arduous for it to be so anticlimactic. You know, they call this movie fucking anticlimax instead of fucking Deliverance, because nothing really they didn't learn anything, you know. There's no danger. The fucking slack-jawed, like, easygoing sheriff that's gonna ask you the dumbest fucking question that doesn't amount to any fucking thing, you know, and it's like, and like, oh, the fucking thing, the nightmare at the end, you know, it's gonna haunt him forever. He'll eventually forget it. Honestly, he's gonna forget it before fucking Bobby forgets it, because he's the one that got fucked in the ass, you know. And so it's like that whole situation is just fucking dumb, you know. The people in this movie are fucking dumb, and the people that made the fucking movie, other than Vilmo Zsigmond, who like delivers, the cinematography is fucking great. You can't deny that. I just wish John Boorman knew more about pacing. You know, imagine if Peckinpah had made this fucking movie, it would have been a lot fucking better. You know, you'd have probably had like, you know, it'd probably been older guys too, you know, so these younger guys, and you would have had more character development. You had more of a thriller, because then you could have had, if you had like the hillbillies hunting the fucking city boys on the river, that makes for a better fucking movie. And then we move forward to Curtis Hanson's The River Wild, which to me is way better of a fucking movie than Deliverance. Because for one, I'm not scared of a lot of things, but one of them might be Kevin Bacon. That motherfucker is a psycho. And never was that more prevalent than in this fucking movie. Because that dude shows up on the screen, you immediately know, oh, this dude's here to fuck shit up. You know, in a way, he's like a demented marriage counselor. Because, you know, honestly, you know, The River Wild may be more tropey than Deliverance, but it at least delivers on a fucking story and a fucking climax. You know, because you got the married couple, the usual married couple that's in, you know, having the marriages on the rocks and shit, and it got Meryl Streep and David Strathairn. Strathairn's, you know, both great fucking actors. David Strathairn, he's the kind of business guy. He's to do all this shit, you know, be the provider. He's got to prove himself to his family, and in turn is alienating himself from the family. So then, like, it's his son's birthday, and his son is that kid from Jurassic Park. And so then, like, they're going to go on this fucking river thing. They're going to go down this river that the Meryl Streep's character used to go on when she was a kid. You know, used to call her Whitewater and shit, you know. Similar kind of thing with Deliverance. They're about to, like, flood it and fuck it up. So it's like she wants to show her son what it really looked like when it was good before, you know, fucking man fucked everything up. And, you know, then it looks like the husband's not going to go because he's got to work and shit. But then he shows up, you know, at the last minute, and so everybody's surprised, and now we're rolling. But before he shows up, the kid's already established this fucking bond with this fucking strange, cool guy with a fucking, you know, Lollapalooza hat and shit, you know, and all this stuff. Like, and that's Kevin Spacey. Or not Kevin Spacey, my bad. Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon shows up. And he's like the fucking, him and John C. Reilly have just robbed this fucking livestock thing. And then, you know, all this plot doesn't matter. But in the end, they need Meryl Streep to get him down the river because she's, you know, the only one that knows the river. Which this is already a better fucking, like, scenario than Deliverance. Because at least you have somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing, you know. And honestly, Meryl Streep's more of a man than any of the fucking, anybody in Deliverance or The River Wild. Kevin Bacon, nobody can match. That dude is a fucking psycho. I mean, and it's, you know, the husband knows early on because he tries to rescue the guy from, you know, drowning and shit, and he's trying to kill him, and you didn't have to punch me. Yeah, I did. You know, David Strathairn's no bitch. You know, he holds his own, and, you know, even when he's off, they think they killed him, and so he's doing his thing, and just the amount of teamwork, and, you know, there's real thrills here. There's actual danger and shit, and motherfuckers learn a lesson. All this tragedy brings them together. If anything, the tragedy and Deliverance, like, will pull them apart, because, you know, if Lewis loses that fucking leg, can't use it and shit, he ain't doing shit, and fucking, you know, Bobby ain't talking to none of these motherfuckers. How you look a man in the eye, you see you get fucked in the ass like a pig and shit. So it's like, it's one of those things. But in The River Wild, all that shit brings them together because the father comes through, he's able to regain his masculinity and fucking take back his family from this cool guy Wade, who's just trying to, like, get away with the money in a clever way that backfires. And Meryl Streep's a fucking boss in this. Like, she just stone cold fucking, she's all about her family, but at the same time, she knows the river. She has a respect for the river that nobody else does, and she can command that shit. She gets him through the gauntlet, and then the husband's on the other side fucking getting it. Even the family dog helps out, so it's fucking crazy. Kevin Bacon's a fucking psycho. Like that motherfucker, like I said, I ain't scared of much, but I wouldn't want to meet that motherfucker on a dark corner. Like, that motherfucker will kill you in your sleep or some shit. But he's stone cold fucking, it's bad, like just a bad motherfucker. And so I got to give it to the 90s on this one. The River Wild wins this round. So for anybody keeping score, we are now 13-10. 70s are still up by 3, but if I'm sitting down and having to watch a fucking movie, like the River Wild is like a masterclass in screenwriting. It tropey as fuck, but it gets you to the point. Everybody learns a lesson in the end, and there's a climax and all that, those fucking great fucking words. There was a point to it all. I don't want to keep speculating endlessly on some fucking movie that's mostly known for sodomy. So it's got to go to the fucking 90s on this one, because it also it's not, if I want to watch a thriller, I want to watch a thriller. I don't want to really see man's internal struggle, because you can't really capture that on film unless you have actors that are more capable. They're not shitting on John Voight, but dude tends to overact a little bit, probably because motherfuckers always told him he couldn't act, probably can't show emotion, who the fuck knows. But this ain't the kind of guy you want to see struggling up a fucking mountain, because it'll put your ass to sleep. So 13-10, 70s are still up, but look like the 90s are coming back, man, because 70s produced just as much trash as the 90s, but they just had more better films, but they still put out some fucking stinkers. They can't all be winners. And next week, the main event one is going to be Jaws versus Lake Placid. So the hitters to end all hitters. That should be an interesting one. So it's really heating up. John Boorman's trash. Curtis Hanson, by volume, a way better fucking director. So think about that shit.